Before we jump into today's story, drop a quick comment to say hi, tell me your name, where you're watching from, and let me know if you're sticking around till the end. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. Alright, let's get into the story. I never thought the day would come when my own flesh and blood, the daughter I carried inside me for 9 months, raised with my entire soul, and protected from every storm life hurled at us, would throw me out of her mansion with nothing but the clothes on my back. Yet here we are. Friends, you enjoy listening to stories, but you don't subscribe to the channel or like the videos. I request you to please subscribe to the channel right now so that I get more motivation to bring you even more stories. If you help me reach 1,000 subscribers, I promise to bring you extremely best stories with a truly real feel, so go ahead, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and now let's move on to today's story. My name is Margaret Reynolds. I'm 58 years old, a woman who once believed that love and sacrifice could never go unpaid in this ruthless world. I was wrong. This isn't a confession. It's a testimony of betrayal, greed, and revenge. I'm telling my story because women like me, mothers like me, are too often forgotten once we've given everything to everyone else. And when the people you've given everything to decide you're worthless, you're left wondering who you are without them. That was me, until 12 hours after my daughter kicked me out, and life turned the tables in a way she never expected. I raised Emily alone after her father left us when she was only 6. He wasn't dead, though sometimes I wished he was, because death makes a clean break, but abandonment lingers like a disease. He left his wedding band on the kitchen counter beside a note that read, "I can't do this anymore. Don't come looking for me." Emily was asleep in her little princess bed when I read those words, and I promised myself I would never let her down, never fail her the way he did. We lived in a beaten-down duplex in Detroit then. I worked as a hairdresser, pulling 12-hour shifts at the salon to keep food on the table. On the days when tips were good, I'd take Emily for pancakes. On the days when they weren't, we shared a can of soup and smiled through it. She was my reason to get up every day. And I made sure she had every chance at life that I never did. Tutors, private lessons, scholarships, I begged and hustled for them all. I thought raising her to dream big was my greatest accomplishment. By the time she was 25, Emily had blossomed into this brilliant, ambitious businesswoman, much smarter than I had ever been allowed to be. She built her real estate empire from scratch, flipping houses with ruthless precision, and then venturing into bigger markets. She surrounded herself with fast-talking lawyers, financial advisors, and boardroom executives who whispered in her ear about how she could be the next American mogul. When I saw her name flashing across business magazines, I wasn't jealous. I was proud. Proud that my little girl, the one who clutched stuffed bears at night, had become unstoppable. But success changes people. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. The call came one Thursday morning. Emily was closing a deal worth $300 million. She had tears in her eyes when she told me, hugging me close. "Mom," she whispered, "we made it. We'll never have to worry again." I believed her. God help me, I believed her. That night, she celebrated at her new mansion, vaulted ceilings, chandeliers dripping with crystals, marble floors so polished they reflected your face. I stood in the corner, wearing the same black dress I wore to every special occasion. A mother doesn't need to outshine her daughter. A mother only needs to witness. Emily was radiant, in her designer gown, her diamond necklace glittering, champagne in hand. Business partners toasted her name. Cameras flashed. She smiled and waved like the world already belonged to her. And then it began. It was 2 days after that celebration. I was standing in the kitchen of her mansion, stirring tea like I always did, when Emily walked in, different somehow. Cold. Her voice was sharper, her tone clipped. "Mom," she said, not even looking me in the eye. I think it's time you lived your own life. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? She finally stared at me, but her eyes weren't the soft hazel I remembered. They were steely. Hardened. It means I need space. I can't have you here anymore. You make me look weak. Everyone keeps asking why my mother still lives with me. I'm not a child anymore. I thought she was joking. I laughed, waiting for her to laugh too. But she didn't. Her hand waved toward the door. The driver will take you anywhere you want to go. But you can't stay here. And just like that, my world cracked open. Emily, I whispered, my throat burning, I gave my life for you. She shrugged, as if I were a stranger. That's the past. This is my future. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Her security guards, 2 men who had eaten at my dinner table not 2 weeks ago, escorted me out. I still had my purse clutched in my hand, my house slippers on. That was all I got to take from my daughter's empire. And in that moment, as I stood in the rain outside her mansion gates, something inside me snapped. Life is strange. The same people who step on you sometimes need you the most. 12 hours after Emily kicked me out, her voice was on the other end of my old cell phone, trembling. Mom, I need you. Funny how betrayal sounds when it's desperate. She was crying so hard I could barely make out the words. Something about contracts, stolen money, partners betraying her, the media circling like vultures. It was chaos on her end. And I did what any mother, any true mother, would do. I listened. I comforted. But I also remembered. All the nights she slept in my lap. All the meals I skipped so she could eat. All the dreams I sacrificed just to keep her alive. And all the coldness in her eyes when she threw me out. That was when the seed of revenge was planted. Because helping her now wouldn't just be about saving her. It would be about teaching her what it really means to need someone. The truth was, I knew how her empire worked better than she thought. Long nights of watching her type away on her laptop, endless dinners where she flaunted her earnings but accidentally revealed weaknesses, conversations I had overheard when she didn't notice me at the edge of the room. I wasn't just her mother. I was her silent witness. And what Emily didn't realize was that while she had built her fortune with ambition, I had built my strength with endurance. And endurance? That trumps everything. So when she begged me for help, I didn't say no. I said, of course, darling. I'll come. Because revenge isn't about denying someone. It's about giving them exactly what they asked for, and letting them destroy themselves with it. I walked back into Emily's mansion that night, not as her mother, but as a ghost she thought she had banished. The guards didn't stop me this time. Emily had ordered them to expect me. Their eyes avoided mine, as if ashamed, though I wondered if it was shame or fear. Maybe they knew what I knew, that power is fleeting, and the higher you rise, the harder the ground feels when you fall. Emily looked nothing like the radiant goddess from her party. Her hair was messy, her mascara bled into the tear streaks on her face, and the diamond necklace lay abandoned on the couch. Mom, she choked, running to me. For a second, just a second, she was my little girl again. The one clutching her teddy bear after her father left. She held me tight. They're destroying me. I don't know what to do. I stroked her back, silent. There are hugs you give out of love, and there are hugs you give out of strategy. This was both. As Emily poured everything out, I learned more in 30 minutes than she had revealed to anyone in a year. She had rushed into her biggest deal yet, selling a block of commercial real estate in Chicago to an investor group. The deal was supposed to be smooth, but she'd overlooked fine print, loopholes that gave her partners power to strip her control. Her trusted advisors had turned on her, quietly rerouting her profits into shell companies. She hadn't just been betrayed. She was on the verge of public humiliation, the kind tabloids feasted on. "I'm ruined," she whispered, her voice shaking. "If the press finds out, if my investors find out." She didn't finish the sentence. But I could. She would be finished. Overnight, the empire she bragged about would crumble. And me? I would be left with a daughter begging at my feet. Revenge is not a single strike. It's patience. It's building the battlefield before the enemy even realizes there's a war. So I played the role she needed. I nodded, comforted, brewed her tea in the same chipped porcelain cup I had smuggled from our old Detroit kitchen. That cup, ugly and cracked, reminded her of home whenever she drank from it. I could see it soften her, the way nostalgia weakens even the strongest heart. "We'll get through this," I told her, my voice steady. "But you need to let me in. Every detail. No secrets between us." She hesitated. For once, Emily, the empire builder, the millionaire, looked like the child who once struggled with fractions at the kitchen table. And she gave in. She showed me confidential files, stacks of contracts, emails she should never have let me see. And as she flipped through those documents with trembling hands, I realized something chilling. Emily had built her empire, yes, but she hadn't built it wisely. She believed in shortcuts, in glitter, in trusting the loudest lawyer in the room. For years, I'd thought she was untouchable. But the truth? Her foundation was rot. And all I had to do was watch it sink. Over the next few days, I stayed in the mansion again. But the power dynamic had flipped. Emily wasn't the tyrant throwing me out anymore. She was the frightened child clinging to her mother's apron strings. Funny how quickly things turn. I watched her unravel with quiet fascination. She snapped at her assistants, screamed at her lawyers, drank through the nights. The woman who once glided through rooms like she owned them now cowered inside her own house. That's when I started tightening the noose. I dropped subtle phrases, careful suggestions that would point her rage toward the right people. "Are you sure Daniel, your lawyer, is really on your side?" I'd whisper after meals. Or, "That advisor of yours, the one who told you to sign that contract, what if he set you up?" I didn't accuse anyone outright. I didn't have to. Just planting the seeds was enough. And Emily, fragile, paranoid, desperate, began to believe me. One night, as Emily paced the living room like a caged lion, she turned to me suddenly. "Mom, why didn't I listen to you more? You always warned me about trusting people. You always said loyalty matters more than ambition." I smiled, serene. "That's because I lived a real life, Emily. Not a life in magazines. A life where people either keep their word or starve. You never had to learn that." She looked at me like I alone could save her. And perhaps, in that moment, I could have. Perhaps, had I wanted, I could have repaired her empire with patience and wisdom. But revenge is sweeter than repair. And my wounds ran too deep for mercy. I began copying documents when she slept. Quietly, secretly. Her contracts. Her bank account information. Even her will. Oh yes, she had written one, leaving everything to some distant cousin in case of sudden death. Not to me. Never to me. Every night, as the house grew silent, I pieced together the puzzle she had accidentally laid in my hands. My plan was never to ruin her financially, that would be too obvious, too messy. My plan was to break her the way she broke me. piece by piece, until she realized that all the money in the world couldn't replace the mother she had discarded. It was during a meeting with her board, one she begged me to attend for moral support, that the perfect opportunity arrived. Emily entered, fragile and jittery, while her executives cut her down with sharp questions about lost profits and disappearing investors. I sat quietly at the back, watching vultures circle. And then, when the pressure was at its peak, Emily turned toward me, her mother, her last bastion, for strength. But instead of strength, I gave her silence. I avoided her eyes. I let her stumble. I let her voice crack while she scrambled to explain figures she didn't understand. The once commanding Margaret Reynolds fell apart in front of her own people. And watching her fall was like balm to my aching soul. That night, Emily sank at my feet in the empty kitchen, clutching my skirt like a drowning child. "Please, Mom, don't leave me. I can't do this without you." Ah, those words. The same daughter who thought I made her look weak now admitted that she was nothing without me. I knelt beside her, stroked her hair, whispered comfort into her ear. But inside, there was no love left. Only ice, only quiet satisfaction. Because she could beg, cry, or scream all she wanted. It wouldn't erase the rain-soaked night she threw me to the curb like garbage. It wouldn't erase the years of sacrifice she discarded the moment she tasted wealth. It wouldn't erase me. Emily's cries haunted the marble corridors of her mansion at night. She begged me for reassurance, for guidance, for strength she no longer had. But if there's one thing I learned raising her alone, it's that she only listened when she felt pain. She wasn't forged in hunger like I was. She wasn't built on sacrifice. Emily was raised on struggle, yes, but she always had me as a safety net. And she had grown entitled to it. This time, I decided, she would learn what it means for the net to vanish. It started small. I suggested she fire Daniel, her most loyal lawyer, convincing her he was secretly working against her. She believed me instantly, paranoia dripping from her every decision. I nudged her to mistrust her assistant, a young woman who had been with her since the first property deal. When Emily accused her of leaking details to the press, the assistant quit in tears. Piece by piece, I dismantled her loyal circle until there was no one left around her but me. And here's the cruelest truth about betrayal: sometimes it's not about stabbing someone directly. Sometimes it's about stripping them bare until the only hand left to hold is the very hand tightening the rope. One evening, while she sat trembling in her sequin nightgown, her trembling hands clutching spreadsheets she barely understood, I leaned closer. "You need a clean break," I whispered. "One last desperate move. Transfer the liquid assets into one secure account. Away from these vultures." Her eyes, swollen from sleepless nights, lit up with a flicker of hope. "Do you know how to do that?" I smiled. "Trust me, darling. A mother always knows." And so she handed over control, wiring funds, accounts, securities, everything. She didn't even hesitate, so eager for me to save her. My fingerprints pressed every button, my name filled every field. By the time midnight fell, I had the power she clung to. And she didn't even realize it. The press arrived first. Headlines screamed of impending collapse. Her investors demanded immediate answers. Emily tried. God knows she tried. But without her team, without loyal advisors, without anyone to shield her, she stood naked before the sharks. Business magazines that once praised her genius now shredded her ruthlessly. Naive. Overconfident. Reckless. Words sharper than any knife. And when the lawsuits began rolling in, she turned again to me. Her voice was hoarse, her hands clutching mine as if they were life preservers. "Mom, you'll help me fix this, right? I looked into those pleading eyes, the same eyes that had cast me aside like trash, and I felt the most liberating calm I'd ever known. "No, Emily," I said softly. "This time, you'll fix it alone." Her face drained of color, and for once, she understood. She had burned her last bridge. The mansion grew quieter with each passing day, as staff deserted her and creditors banged at her gates. She sold her cars first. Then her jewels. One by one, her possessions slipped through her fingers like sand. And me? I stayed just long enough to watch the empire crumble to dust. When the house echoed with emptiness, I packed my purse, the same purse I carried out that rainy night she kicked me out, and walked through her gates. I didn't slam the door. I didn't raise my voice. Revenge doesn't always come with fire or fury. Sometimes it comes in silence. And in my silence, she realized the final truth. She had gained $300 million, but lost the one person who had ever truly loved her. Weeks later, as I settled into my modest new home, one purchased quietly with funds she never realized she had placed in my hands, I found myself writing a letter I never intended to mail. Emily. You threw me away, believing money made you powerful. But money is fragile. Loyalty is not. I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourself. I only let the mirror show you who you are. Mom. I folded it, tucked it into a drawer, and left it there. Because she didn't need my words anymore. She was already living their meaning every single day. Do I regret it? Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I crossed a line. A mother's vengeance is unlike any other, it cuts both ways. But then I remember the sting of that rainy night, the heaviness of betrayal, and I know one truth above all. Sometimes children must learn that mothers are not eternal. We are not infinite. We are flesh, blood, and sacrifice. And if you break us enough times, we stop bending. I gave Emily life once. She threw it away. So I gave her what she deserved, a life without me. It has been 7 years since that stormy night when Emily threw me out in the rain. 7 years since I walked back into her mansion, not to save her, but to quietly watch her destroy herself. Time has a way of softening even the deepest wounds, but not all wounds heal. Some remain open, quietly bleeding beneath the skin. For Emily, those wounds became her life. I sometimes see her name now, not in glowing headlines about business triumphs, but in smaller, crueler columns, stories of decline, lawsuits, and debts. She rents a modest apartment in Queens, a far cry from the marble-tiled palace where she once reigned. The woman who stood in shining gowns and diamond necklaces now shops coupons at corner stores. From what I hear, she survives, but barely. Her former friends, the investors and advisors who toasted her with champagne, abandoned her the moment her crown slipped. And the daughter who once thought money made her invincible? She now walks streets as ordinary as the ones I raised her on. Last Thanksgiving, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to see her, older now, her face gaunt, her hands trembling. She didn't look like an empress anymore. She looked like a child. Mom, she whispered. I'm sorry. For a long time, we just stood there, two women bound by blood but divided by betrayal. I studied her face, searching for the girl I once knew, hidden somewhere behind the layers of regret. Every instinct told me to reach for her, to cradle her the way I used to when the world was too cruel. But scars don't fade just because someone says sorry. So I let her stand there, apology heavy in the air, until finally I stepped aside and let her in. We sat at the kitchen table, a simple roast warming on the stove, so different from the lavish feasts she once hosted for strangers. I lost everything, she confessed, her voice cracking. And I know I pushed you away. I thought money made me bigger than my past, bigger than you. But I was wrong. You're all I ever had." I listened, silent. It wasn't triumph I felt in that moment. Not satisfaction, not even revenge. Only a quiet, weary sorrow for all that had been wasted in the name of greed. Sometimes revenge doesn't end in fire. Sometimes it ends in silence, in the long years where both mother and daughter must live with what they've done. I'll never fully forgive her for throwing me out. And she'll never fully forgive me for letting her empire collapse when she begged for my help. Between us lies a canyon we'll never quite bridge. But as I watched her sip tea from that same chipped cup I carried from Detroit, something softened inside me. Because in the end, we are bound, broken, flawed, scarred, but bound all the same. Emily lost $300 million. She lost friends, fame, reputation. But maybe, just maybe, she gained something she always needed more desperately. The reminder that a mother's love, once betrayed, can become the cruelest weapon, but it can also be the last lifeline left in the world. I don't know what the future holds for her. Perhaps she'll rebuild in small ways, claw her way back to some kind of stability. Perhaps she won't. What I know is this: my story is not about her millions, or even about revenge. It's about the cost of forgetting those who built you, about the danger of arrogance, about the weight of betrayal between mother and child. And if Emily never learns anything else in this life, she will at least forever remember the night she threw me out with her millions, and the morning she came crawling back, empty-handed, to the only person who truly mattered. Me. Her mother.